Welcome. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this early evening here in the summer. Incredible rainstorm going on here in the Northeast. And I might, like I've done before, hasn't happened too much, but it makes it an interesting ambiance. Beautiful sound pouring on the roof. May lose power. These kind of rural areas that has a tendency to happen. So I know I've been active this week. I know I've been doing some two-a-days, including in the morning, and now for the second time this week, and really ever, doing a solo in the evening. But there has been something I've been thinking about, something that I've been working on, something that I've been scripting out and writing that I want to flesh out more. So to give it a catchy name, and this is in its pretty raw form, I'm going to call this The Museum Closes, but the laboratory opens. So again, it was another 90-degree and humid scorcher day today. I actually had to travel into New York, which is a bit of a chore. Had an incredible two meetings. It looks like I found my location where I'll be hosting my September single family office forum in New York. Really, my marquee program for my members and select guests is Palm Beach every spring, but New York is probably my number two. It's more intimate and not as elongated. Palm Beach was over 4 days. Now, a lot of that was social and cigar bars and private homes, but nonetheless, over 4 days. And then not much more than a month after that, there I am at the Milken Conference. So LA was incredible. And that was technically, although much more intimate, stretched over 4 days as well. But the New York area is great during the summer. I do like to do breakfasts and lunches, some master classes. I have a social soiree that I'll be announcing. I may make that a little bit more open. It's at a beautiful, literally $100 million penthouse in New York City. So that will be a lot of fun. So lots going on, but why don't I begin with, again, I'm trying this out on this rainy night when I may lose power. The museum closes and kind of the laboratory, I guess you could say, opens. This will be a long one. Grab a cup of tea. I have mine, and let's see where my show notes off my mind goes. So to me, 95% of family offices today are expensive museums, henceforth the title. They're beautiful at times, traditional, and I could argue, somewhat debatably, completely irrelevant to the future being built currently around them. So they polish their vintage investment strategies and dust off the old governance, the artifacts, as I call them. But the world is being rewritten by families who never heard of so-called prudent man rules. So from my perspective, what is the Museum Manifesto? I called to you Exhibit A, the diversification diorama, carefully curated portfolio of yesterday's winners. But the world we're living in now is very different. So they may showcase their alternative investments, often the same generic, overpriced, and really asset gathering, private equity funds, maybe hedge fund strategies, kind of the same real estate plays of any other museum. So sorry, family office, that's like acquired at auction. Meanwhile, is the Bezos family office making effectively one bet, then diversifying around that? Amazon, the Musk and his companies. So really, it's not one, but accelerating sustainable transport, energy, AI, data gathering. Okay, he's unique. It's a lot. And the Gates family makes one bet, solving humanity's biggest problems. But going back to Musk, he kind of takes it all on himself, because why not bet on yourself? Why not sleep on the floor? So Exhibit B, the governance gallery. I'm looking at my show notes here a little bit. Gallery, the ancient committee structures behind the velvet ropes. So quarterly board meetings with PowerPoint presentations. I mean, I've done thousands of those myself. I shouldn't talk. Analyzing last quarter's performance, decision-making processes designed, honestly, for like 1950 industrial conglomerates, but not for today, 2025 exponential opportunities. So they debate, quote unquote, asset allocation. AI, again, is rewriting the rules of wealth creation faster than their committees can convene. I call to court now Exhibit C, the next generation wing preserved, what, an amber, protected from reality. I told you this would be a long one. So trust fund distributions calculated to prevent spoiling, while simultaneously preventing any meaningful and understandable and learning, risk-taking entrepreneurship and real impact creation. How about that? So what happens is these families, and now they know why there's challenges in continuity. They're not raising, or no, they are. They're raising museum curators. Even the word stewardship kind of bothers me a little bit. Charlie Lowenholt, my friend, feels the same way. So they're raising museum curators, not wealth creators. I understand. Not everyone is going to be a wealth creator, but there are certain principles of understanding wealth longevity from the perspective I'm talking about, really continuity. So the extinction signals, I think there's 4 of them, I would state. So one is speed differential. Museum families, come on, it's 90 days from idea to committee approval. But future families, it can be, I showed it at my AI Family Office Masterclass, literally 90 minutes from idea to first experiment at least. Signal 2, what I call risk calibration. Museum families, protect what we have. And that's probably an understandable human nature once you have an incredible level of success. But think deeper. How about future families? Risk what we have to become, risk what we have to become, what we could be. A deeper purpose as well than merely money. Signal 3, what I call measurement myopia. Museum families are benchmarking. Ooh, many of you know I don't like benchmarking and best practices too much. They have some role, but they're benchmarking against other family offices. If you want to use the word benchmarking, how about future families benchmarking against what's possible? And I did promise you 4 signals. Innovation absence. Museum families manage existing assets. Future families, I mean, they could create new categories. There's a irrelevance acceleration in my perspective. And again, I somewhat understand it. I lived through it and was a part of it myself. These museum family offices are optimizing for asset preservation, tax efficiency, risk mitigation, consensus building, and really historical precedent. Now, some of you are stating, Angelo, that's not so bad. And I do hear you. And those are parts of what a family office is. But think a little beyond that. What the future demands is asymmetrical opportunity capture, speed over consensus. And that will matter more moving forward. Concentrated conviction over diversified mediocrity, innovation over preservation, and really first principles thinking. First principles over precedent. Now, there is a brutal math. If your family office could be replaced by a Vanguard index fund plus a tax attorney, you might be a museum. Now, I know what some of you are saying. Maybe that Vanguard S&P and a great tax attorney, it's a pretty good combo. You're not incorrect, but I want better than pretty good. And by the way, if 493 companies are laggards in the S&P in a new era moving forward, that's not going to work as well. So how about if your investment strategy is available to really any pension fund with whatever 100 to 300 million AUM? I mean, that's kind of a museum. Man, I'm on a roll. Let me continue. If your next generation learns wealth management or wealth preservation only ahead of wealth creation, then are you a museum? I would even go as far, if your innovation is only adding 1% crypto to your portfolio, I mean, that's kind of a museum as well. So, is there something that maybe I'll call a museum exit strategy? Well, there's a couple of steps to that as well. And let me take another sip of my overly warm tea, actually. It's a hot night, but it's good on my throat. The relevance audit. What percentage of your family office's activities could even exist in 2035? Investment committees analyzing public market returns. I'm going to go back to my debate with Ron Diamond. I think that's bordering on already dead. In 10 years, oh my God, will AI and AI agents, that's long gone. That will be buried and obsolete. Quarterly family meetings discuss an asset allocation. Again, obsolete. Trust structures only designed for tax avoidance at minimal, vulnerable. And philanthropy focused on giving away money. Yes, but perhaps now, and looking back, we're going to judge it as being inefficient. Next generation education about responsible wealth management. I'm going to go with irrelevant. Now, there's a step two. I promised that was the step one. The future building pivot. How about from museum to laboratory? That was also in my title. Instead of managing a real estate portfolio, how about building the future of urban living? Instead of a only diversified public equity exposure, how about building the companies that will dominate tomorrow? Instead of committee managed, like even philanthropy that I referenced earlier, maybe build systematic solutions to civilization. So scale kind of the problems. Instead of next generation wealth education, how about build next generation wealth creators? So I think some of this is a paradigm shift. Some of it is a mind shift. The world is in utter chaos. AI is changing everything, and everything is happening very quickly. In the past, you might have had some time. You don't have time now if you want to be excellent. And you want the continuity that I want you to have, that I want my members of my SFO continuity, my private membership community. So step three, the asymmetric bet framework, I guess I would call it. Yeah, that's what I called it. Question for every family office decision. Is this something only we can do or something anyone with money can do? Museum activities equals something anyone with money can do. And maybe sometimes that is the right play. But future activities, something only your family can do. What is your internal skills acquisition? What do you know? What are your connectivity? What do you know so incredibly well that you could dominate it, that you could create opportunity? Like I said, wealth creation. So there's indispensable insight. Why 95% of museums, they're hired. They basically hired museum curators, which I would loosely define as traditional advisors. So, like, why the 5% are future builders? They hired laboratory directors, innovation architects to really build the tomorrow. Is this easy? I'm not saying it is. It's something that maybe you give thought to and elect not to pursue it to the level that I'm talking about, but you gave thought to it, you understand it, you know where you are, and you want to be excellent at what you do. It may not be my preferred choice, but it's yours, but you thought through the process with first principles thinking. So the final choice, you can continue polishing your beautiful, and it may very well be traditional, museum, or you can start to build a future. It's a little hard to do both. I wouldn't say it's impossible. It's just hard. The families building the future don't have, well, they don't have the time to visit the museums. How about that one? They're too busy making the future everyone else will eventually live in. man, I just look at what's happening with AI, with the convergence of even Bitcoin and crypto. Broadly, what will be a coming up again of the tokenization of everything, eventually the advent of the metaverse. We are like, I just think that many of you haven't thought this out and you're not as prepared as you could be, both as a family office executive, as an advisor. I think through this stuff 24/7. So again, ask family office, museum, or laboratory. The future won't wait for your quarterly horrific, often investment committees to decide. And if you're going to have an investment committee, could you please choose incredible people that debate ideas, that battle ideas, and probably keep it three, please? That's it. So the museum closes, the laboratory opens. The question isn't whether your family office will become irrelevant. The question is whether you'll even notice before it's too late. Because while you're preserving the past, someone else is building the future that you'll eventually have to live in. So I state the bold claim, perhaps somewhat unrealistic: stop being a museum and really start to be indispensable. So I went a little longer in this solo. It's something that I actually kind of completed writing up a little bit on the train back from New York today. Ran it by a friend or two and a couple of other resources. And well, there it is. And from me, I don't know if any of it is really that new. I've been kind of talking about this stuff for a year to a year and a half now, but this was probably bordering on the most direct, succinct, and artsy that I probably ever put it before. Again, I don't want to be just any family office organization. I don't want to be that person who only handles events and makes sure that things run on time while sponsored speaker after bad sponsored speaker get up and talk. I don't just want to output generic content. Like, I have been there and done some of that. I've done all of that in my 20 years in the community. I want something more incredible now, something that I'm living through, something that is more critical thinking, deeper thinking, and that is important to me and my family, and the relationships that I take pride in, the output of the work that I do to help my families get the best outcomes possible. They may disagree with me. They may not even like sometimes what I have to say. All of that is okay. I spoke yesterday about my idea about the battle of ideas and the competition for let's work together, sometimes arguing relative to getting the best idea. Let's forget about this political correctness and niceness and formalities in the family office community. This industry is so laggard. It's so boring. It's so vanilla. You hear the same voices over and over. No one is pushing any boundaries. They're afraid of being wrong. Well, that brings up another thing that I've been talking about for Bitcoin for 10 years. And I'm mentioning now, you rather be right than be incredibly rich. What is wrong with you? Do you stake who you are and that you need to be right? Or would you be better having a thesis? I think I'm wrong. And I now have learned, and I want to make better decisions based on the other perspective. It is very hard for people that are a little older, that have had some successes, and let ego, ignorance, and fear effectively get in the way. And I make those mistakes all the time too. Nothing special about me. But I do understand the value of goal setting, given I'm a devotee of Peter Drucker, understanding OKRs, KPIs, and measuring my progress, when I work best, how I measure my results. But more importantly, that's all focused on me. I really care about my members, my consultative relationships. I'm doing something incredible now with an advisor in the community. I don't know if he wants me to say whether it's legal, accounting, or finance, but really understanding their business and servicing families, especially billion-dollar plus families, and really doing incredible things. So I've never been happier. I don't want to rebuild what I did, which was awesome for back at its day, at its peak about 6-7 years ago at Family Office Association. Been there, done that. I like to be more boutique, more intimate, and do more deeper critical thinking and intellectual work. Again, I could care less about being liked. I do understand that, I guess to some, I rock the boat. I have what some would deem controversial opinions about subjects often others in the community don't talk about. Who talks about geopolitics as openly as I do? I mean, macroeconomics is a little bit more boring, but things relative to that, even still Bitcoin and crypto. I actually have a great guest coming up on Bitcoin. Some of you mentioned I haven't done that in like 2 years. Well, that's going to change in a couple of weeks. And if you're listening to this live, a reminder, Wednesday, tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern, I have in the investing in AI with Dr. Craig Kaplan, an incredible AI expert, data scientist, and former hedge fund manager. He's been on before. We are going to go hardcore. We're about 90% on the same page. I'm a little bit more active in privates than he is, and probably a little bit more risky in certain of the things that I do relative to my AI investing, but he's great. We'll probably get a good hour and a half with him tomorrow. And he was trained under, I think it was Dr. Jeffrey Hinton, like the godfather of AI. So we have so much to discuss tomorrow. There's so much going on. I know I'm beating the drum now a lot, but don't just completely rest and relax this summer. The world, whoa. And what AI is doing to it, everything is changing so rapidly. You got to get up to snuff. You got to put in the work, acquire the skills, iterate, be resilient. But really, a lot of this comes down to taking the action. If not with me, then okay, with someone else. Just, I don't think there's much you're going to see in the family office world that's going to be cutting edge and creative. I just don't see it. But if you want to be comfortable in that old setting, but there's a couple of sharp people that are more broadly in finance and tech and indirectly help to service some of the activities and thoughts in the AI community. I like to stay up on my history, my philosophy. I like to think a little deeper about some of these things. And sadly, when I take notes and journal and I go back to past decisions, I mean, trust me, brothers and sisters, like at least half the time, effectively, I'm wrong. But I think I admit that pretty quickly and I iterate. Now, yes, I admit I maybe bang my chest about the ones I was right at, like broadly, stable coins, Bitcoin, crypto. And I know I'm correct about AI. I could really help you, really help you. So go to angelorobles.com, look to become a member of my wonderful SFO continuity, my private intelligence and membership community. Be a part of my August 11th and 12th amazing in-person masterclass in New York City. I'll change everything for you in those 2 days. And if you service the community, you would still get incredible value by being a part of that masterclass, looking into some of the programs that we do that I really keep a fair amount of it kind of off the grid of my events tab on my website. But occasionally I'll throw something in there like I did with my New York City forum coming up in September. And I do one-on-one consults, usually on a monthly retainer with those, or if not individuals, organizations, some of them incredibly gigantic and successful in the community. I've been in this community for decades, made every mistake, have done a couple of things correct. And I think I have some experiences and skill acquisition to help accelerate your knowledge, no matter who you are, as a principal, a rising gen, an executive in a family office, or someone that services the community. I want you to use me. You just have to pay me, of course, and be a part of what I'm doing. So go to angelorobles.com and learn more. But in the meantime, as you can see, I'm pretty active on my @family office on YouTube, my social media platforms. Always consider me a friend in the community. And I told many of you, you could text me really anytime. I get a lot of emails. I don't get as many texts. They kind of pop right there in front of your face. So they're easier in terms of today's world and navigating. I'm 203-570-2898. Of course, by now, you know about the website, angelorobles.com. And again, please, enjoy your family, your fun, the beauty of the summer. It's so wonderful to be out there in nature. We got July 4th coming up. That's going to be incredible. But I just don't want you to totally take your foot off the pedal because things are just happening too quickly. When you travel the world and go to the Middle East and see what's going on there, like, my God, their airports are like, speaking of museums, that's like a modern 5-star hotel slash museum. And even in sleepy old Europe, you have some incredible pockets. And obviously, Asia needs really no explanation. We have a lot of work to do for the US to be dominant for years and decades to come. We got our work cut out for us. Like, what happened to the spirit when I was growing up of incredible entrepreneurship and putting in hard work and taking risk? Wow, I'm feeling it. It's an exciting time, but I want you to be a part of something to learn. This summer is it. Stop waiting. I want you to come out of this summer with amazing skills you didn't have going in and a clarity of your focus and how you're going to just dominate. If not this summer, then coming right out of it in September. So you all know about me now. You know how to reach me. Apparently, this has been a pretty active week for me. I got a couple of interesting thoughts about the Fed, more on first principles and best practices. I got the AI interview tomorrow. So before we head into Friday, which is July 4th, a huge and incredible holiday here in the US, both tomorrow and Thursday, you'll probably see a fair amount of me. Maybe Sunday or Monday I'll resurface. I just have a lot of things spinning in this old noggin of mine. Going to enjoy a couple of cigars between now and the end of the July 4th weekend. And then I just would remind everyone, like, even then, what Monday it puts us at what, July 7th? Like, the summer's ticking by. You got to get your edge now. We are heading into an incredibly competitive environment. I want you to have a level of confidence in your capability moving forward and your ability to make money. And I think it's going to be very, very important. We are going to hit a point for some of you that may be in 2 or 3 years. For others, it may be closer to 7 or 10 years, where AI is going to make things very intriguing. We're going to see a lot of upheaval, a lot of political bifurcation more than now. We're going to see the advent of robotics, which is actually happening quicker than I thought, And I'm pretty future forward thinking. Just wake up to these realities. Thank you all, everyone. I'm Angelo Robles, and have a great evening.